Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Tokyo Tropic Turtles Draft Declared franchise mode here in MLB The Show 24. So, in last episode, we had the year 14 draft, and it was actually another pretty solid draft, I would say, for our team, despite drafting as late as we were. We drafted some pretty solid potential players, as you can see here. David Chu with that nice A potential. He was a great little steal. Solid overall as well for an 18-year-old, and does address kind of a need because we do need more third basemen, and he can't play third base. More defensively oriented, but still a solid pick. We also got like Luther Chang, who's a solid overall at 1861 with only 77 potential, but I definitely think he could outgrow it. He looks like he could be maybe a decent power hitting outfielder if we develop him the right way. Walter Lee looks like an okay relief prospect. Obviously, we don't need relief pitchers too much, so he's not super high priority to get into the MLB at any stage, but at least he gives us more depth at the bullpen position. Nelson Hong might have been my favorite pick of the draft, though. He is a 74 at 18 with only 74 potential, so he's not going to really get much growth unless he actually starts playing good, which he probably will play good out of the gate because he's got good contact against righties, good power against righties. His discipline is good at the plate. His clutch could go up for sure, too, but I think all in all, this guy's a very solid player all around, and I'm very excited to see how he ends up developing if we do more seasons of this. Alan Morai is kind of just the worst prospect we probably drafted almost in this entire series. Not a great potential, not a great overall for his age either. So, yeah, that one was definitely a swing and a miss. And in our last and final pick, this guy we didn't even scout at all, but Henry Taguchi ended up being a very solid steal. 50 at 18, which is not bad, and then he also has 89 potential. So in general, we had a pretty good draft, all things considered, which is great because that means at least we got some more prospects that will be making it to the majors at some point if the series goes longer. Obviously, if we win a World Series this season, I might end it earlier, but obviously it depends on, I guess, how this team does the rest of the season. Like, we had a pretty good stretch of baseball between after the draft and yeah, actually I guess after the draft and before the draft by like 2 weeks, but we're now 66 and 44, are in first place in the AL West, and also I think we are first place in the league. We've had a very good stretch of baseball over the last little bit. You could see last month we won a lot of games, didn't have too many losses consecutively. We did have a 3-game losing streak near the end of the month, but we did bounce back with a nice 4-game winning streak, or 5-game winning streak, guys, at this point in time. So we have been on a good little run as of late. We also did have some more All-Star representatives. Nomo and Yamazaki made the All-Star game, as did Parker Iwamura. So very happy with them making the All-Star game. Also, Parker Iwamura is now up there for a chance to win the Cy Young. He's had a fantastic season so far, so there could be a chance for him to take his second Cy Young home in the last few years. We've also had some good performances from other pitchers, though, too. And in general, I've been very happy with how this team's been assimilating. There has been some underlining players, like Jung, I would say, still kind of not the best in the world. Same with Vincent Chang, but there is a lot of guys that to be happy about on this roster. So hopefully we obviously have a good rest of the regular season and obviously make the playoffs. And hopefully when we get into the playoffs, we could at least transition that offense and defensive play and pitching, all that type of thing, from the regular season into the playoffs as well. Because obviously in the playoffs, we haven't had the success that we wanted so far. So we definitely need to find it one of these years soon, because they're also going to start losing more players. We already lost Sato after last offseason, and there's going to be probably more to come this offseason if we do not get it done. Like, there's a good chance we could use somebody like Vincent Seo just because of the money situation, but obviously that depends if this team wants to go far or not. But anyways, before we simulate the rest of the year 14 regular season, let's get into your guys' comments and see what you guys have to say about last episode. And then we'll see what ends up happening with this roster and see what they finish like. Are we going to be like a wild card team? Are we going to end up just leading the AL West and once again getting a nice little bypass? Will be interesting to see what happens. So the one and only comment is from Nick Boncabarons OC, who says, "I will take my victory lap on my opinion of the of my draft." He says, but he says of the draft. I think he means Boar. And yeah, that draft definitely did surprise us. I said it wasn't going to be the best draft class on paper, but I would say it definitely wasn't the worst draft we've ever had. We've had some pretty bad drafts at times, but I would say that one definitely for where we are drafting, we got some really solid steals that could end up developing really well for this team. So very happy with that draft class. And obviously, I hope that if we do have more drafts and stuff like that, that we do well on those as well. Because, like I said, we're at that stage where we're going to lose guys to retirement eventually in a few years. We're going to start losing players to free agency. And yeah, then this roster is not going to be as competitive as it currently is. Like, if we look at actually currently our GM goals here, you can see over the last 2 years, we've had 99 and 63 record. We went 96 and 66 last year. I don't know if we're on pace for our best season yet, but it would be nice to hit the 100 win mark if that happens. But last 2 years, we've lost in ALDS both seasons, so we definitely need to find a way to actually win in the ALDS and get ourselves to an ALCS, and then obviously the next step after that is getting to a World Series. So hopefully we could do both those things this season, but I think definitely this team is playoff bound for sure. It's just all about where we actually finish. Like, are we going to be in the wild card game or not? Because obviously if the Astros pass us, they could definitely end up taking that spot, and then we would probably, if I'm not mistaken, wait, let me see right now. Where is the wild card stuff? Yeah, the Astros are currently in the wild card because of that. So if the Astros pass us, we could be back into the wild card scenario, which is not really a bad scenario to be in because I have seen wild card teams go really far in the playoffs before. So maybe that's what we need, is to finish a little bit lower, and then teams kind of like think that we're just a cakewalk, and then we could just beat every single team or something like that. But yeah, the division's pretty tight, I would say. The Texas Rangers are also above 500, so they're also trying to fight for a wild card spot. The Mariners and Angels are pretty far out of it, I would say, at this stage, but obviously there's still a lot of time left in the season to go off of. But anyways, let's go to, where does AA season end again? Oh yeah, we're in August. Yeah, we're in August right now, so we could actually simulate this month without having to do our September call-ups yet, which is good. So I guess we will go to the end of the month and see what we could do here in August 2037. Geez. So we'll go 1 week at a time. We got one more game against Baltimore, then we got 3 against the Angels, who are, like I said, below 500. And then 2 games here against Tampa, well, 3 technically, I guess. They're 46 and 64, so they haven't been good either. So this should be an easy week for our team to get a good chunk of wins. Let's see how we do in this stretch of the week. And wow, 4 more wins in a row. Okay, we're on a good little tear, as I was expecting, considering these teams should be pretty easy for us. And then, of course, after I said that, we literally lose 2 games in a row to Tampa, who's not very good. But we are 70 and 46 now, which is fantastic. We're now 4 games up on the Astros. We are definitely probably the highest team in the league in terms of win percentage, my guess. But obviously, regular season win percentage doesn't matter once it comes to the postseason. So hopefully in the postseason we get wins as well, because that's what we kind of need. Let's go through this next week. We have another game against Tampa here. We have 3 against Baltimore, who we just played last week, and we swept that series against them, I believe. And then we have 2 more against Detroit, which Detroit is not having a fun time. They're kind of reverse roles of us, because we're 70 and 46. They're 47 and 72. So they have had a really tough year at this point in time. Let's go through the first 4 games. So Tampa and 3 against Baltimore. We win that last one against Tampa, so we didn't get swept at least. And we lose 2 of 3 against Baltimore. So we are in a little bit of a downfall over the last few games, but that's okay. Maybe it's what we need to have happen. So we've lost 4 of our last 6 games. Not really ideal, but obviously this team's going to have its hiccups from here on out. We are a 60% win team still, which is good. So we are still 4 games up on the Astros. Let's go through these 2 games against the Tigers. We should be able to beat them, unless our team's deciding to fall completely off. And we lose 1 and win 1, but 73 and 49. We have fallen down below 600 now, or 60%. But that's all right. 59.8 is still good. Obviously, it's been a little bit of a tough stretch here, but we should be still probably the best team in baseball, which is all right. Yeah, we're going to obviously keep everything the same for now. We got 1 more against Detroit. This should hopefully be a win. Then we got 3 more against Tampa again, which we should get back at Tampa. But last time they took 2 of the 3 in that one series that we just had recently. And then we have a tough time against the Yankees, who are obviously a really good team as well right now. 68 and 56. They are below us, but they are still a very, very good team. Let's go through this last game against Detroit. We win that one. Okay, nice. So we did win that series against them. Now we have 3 against Tampa. Can we get redemption on them for that last series that we played against them? Yes, we can. We take 2 of 3 in this one. Nice. Always good to win in little series. 76 and 50. And now we're going to take on the 69-59 Yankees. So this would be a pretty good matchup. Could be honestly a playoff matchup at some point, because obviously we played the Yankees a few years ago, I believe it was, and then that's when they reverse swept us. So this is a 4-game series as well, so this one could decide who's one of the best teams in the league, because if they win all 4 games, for instance, they will be definitely a lot closer to our record. Alright, so let's go through the first 2 games of the series and see if we could get some wins against them. Robert Yabu has been injured with a broken arm for 1 to 2 months. At least he's not in the majors, but that sucks for the old guy in Yabu to get injured like that. And we do win both games to start off the series, which is nice. AAA needs a new lineup. We'll do that now. But we shut them out in the first 2 games. That's a really good sign, especially against a good team like that. So was AA or AAA that needed to adjust their lineup? Oh, it's triple. So triple, what do they need in their roster? They need a second baseman, it looks like to me. Can Yamazaki play second base? He can't. Nice. Okay, we'll get Koji into that spot. So Koji Yamazaki will jump into the lineup. That is good to go. Let me just make sure that AA is okay. I don't want to take a look at MLB stats yet. Yeah, AA is good as well. Okay, perfect. We are ready to continue assimilating. We are 78-50. Let's go through this other game against the Yankees. And it's another win, 12-3. Damn, we've outscored them really well in these first 3 games of the series. 15-3 over the course of 3 games. That's nice to see. 79-50. We're at a 61.2 win percentage now. We are all of a sudden cruising. And all of a sudden the Rangers have leapfrogged the Astros in the standings. That's interesting. If the Astros fall back so far to the wild card, though, I think they're going to win the World Series, because literally they were the best team for a long time, and all of a sudden they aren't the best team. Watch, they're going to find themselves in the playoffs. I just feel like that's what the game's kind of scripting up here. But I honestly don't know. The Rangers, though, have been on a very good stretch as of late as well. So Astros falling back is kind of surprising. If they end up missing the playoffs, I'd be happy. But we got to definitely watch out for Texas, because Texas is coming completely out of nowhere and trying to win a lot of games. All right, let's go through this last game against the Yankees, see if we can pull off the sweep. And yes, we do. What a series. We scored over 10 runs in 3 straight games as well. And we only gave up a total of 6 runs through 4 games. Fantastic. 80-50 on the year. This might be the first year that this team hits 100 wins, potentially, if we could find a way to have a really good next month. Actually, there's no games in October to start this one, so September is where we end the season. So we might not have a lot of time left to hit 100 wins, but I think this might end up being one of our best seasons if we continue like this. So we got 3 more games against the Braves, who are not very good at the moment. Then we have 3 games against the White Sox, who are hovering just a bit below 500 at the moment. So we should hypothetically be able to take all 6 of these games, but obviously there's probably going to be 1 or 2 losses in there, I would assume. And then obviously we got to do our September call-ups, which should be intriguing. And then we'll take a look at AA and AAA. AA is actually above 500 at the moment, which is kind of crazy. And same with AAA. That's actually really crazy, because usually we don't have any of our teams just being above 500. So our MLB team could be above 500, but I've never seen like our AA and AAA team actually do just as good as our MLB team almost. So who knows, maybe there's postseason berth potential for all 3 of our lineups, which would be awesome. Anyways, let's get through these 3 games against the Braves, see what we could do against them. We win the first one. Takahashi's been injured. That's actually not a great injury for AA, I believe. And then we lost the second one, but we win the third one. So another series won, 82-51. Let's go through these 3 games against the White Sox now. And we lose the first 2, but win the third one, which means we have 1 more game left of that series. And actually 2 more games left of the month before we do our September call-up. So you got to be wary about that, because the calendar continues into this part. Kind of a bit strange, because I was like, at first I'm like, there's no August, just 29th in general. It goes to August 31st all the time, but we got to get through these 2 games as well before we do our September call-ups. AA still has a bit to go. Okay, that's good. Let me take a look at the standings here. We're at a 61 win percentage. We're 4 games up still on the Rangers. And the Astros are trying to get back at their Texas rivals, I guess. But Texas Rangers are 9-1 in their last 10 games. Jeez. I don't know where they came from, but they're a scary threat as well. Got to be worried about that. Let's go through these last 2 games of the month here. White Sox, we win 8-1. We beat Pittsburgh 12-0, and we're 85-53 by September. That's fantastic. We just need 15 more wins to hit 100 wins, which we have, I don't know how much more games, to be honest, but We're 7-3 in our last 10 games. Astros and Rangers are now exactly tied. They end up might be both the wild card team. Yeah, both of them might actually face each other in the wild card because the Twins and Orioles have kind of fallen off a little bit too much. There's a chance that one of our division rivals, or both of our division rivals, I would say, are going to be in the wild card game, which is kind of insane. So there is a chance that we might have to face one of them potentially, of course. So anyways, let's do our September call-ups here. So who do we want to call up for September is the question. We should probably call up, based on our stats, our stuff. Let's see, AAA. We should probably call up William A. Bayek because of his overall. He's at a 260 so far in AAA, just in case you guys want to give him potential boosts and stuff. 19 home runs. He's actually been pretty solid, I would say. So I think he deserves definitely one of those call-up opportunities. And then we need one more player. I could call up David Naw. He's actually been not too bad this year. Just give us one extra pitcher, potentially. But he would be a bullpen kind of pitcher guy. Dusty Kim has not been the best so far, but he is up to a 78 at 20. We don't really need to call up multiple shortstops. Does have a 739 OPS, but I think Dusty Kim makes it to the majors maybe next season, potentially. Definitely fights for that shortstop position. We have so much shortstop prospects, though. It's kind of outrageous. Trying to think of who else I would call up other than David Naw. Walter Lee's been a good reliever so far. We do have a lot of relief pitchers in the system. He used to play with us a number of years ago. But yeah, he's having a pretty good run here. 75 at 27. What about AAA? AAA doesn't have anybody I would probably call up. Oh, man. Who would I want to call up as the other one? It's either probably Naw or Lee. I feel like Naw should probably stay down there because we don't have a lot of starting pitchers in our system. Walter Lee is a reliever, though, so we could call him up. But there is Tom Cho, who's actually been really good, too. Batting at 286. I don't know if he's on our 40-man roster. Is he on our 40-man? Yeah, he is. He's actually been really good this year. There is a chance I might call him up because of his contact numbers. Good vision, good discipline. You know what? I think I'm going to call up Tom Cho as the other one. Just based on his numbers, so that way you guys can see if he needs a boost or not. But I think he's had a good year. Good average, good OPS. He's had some home runs, RBIs. Yeah, I think I'll call him up as the other one. Give us a little bit more outfielding depth, and then we could send somebody back down for the playoffs. So Tom Cho is going to be our last call up here. And I might have to readjust our lineup accordingly. Let's just double check on AA, or AAA actually for that matter. So they need a new right fielder in, so we'll just throw Jungwoo on into the right field. And then this other position that we need is a shortstop, I guess? Yeah, shortstop. I honestly don't care who gets put in this spot, who has good defensive stats. Nishi could maybe be good because he's an outfielder, but Ishii has a good, actually really good arm and stuff. But I don't think playing a catcher at shortstop makes much sense, but he's not really developing anyways. Let's just throw this guy in. At this point, it doesn't matter too much about his potential and all that. So we'll just throw those guys in. And now AAA is ready to go. They are first place in the Pacific Coast West. So shout out to AAA, who actually looking like they're going to be a playoff team, which is pretty damn sick. And in AA is above 500, but they're 4 games back. So despite being above 500, they might miss the playoffs, which kind of sucks. Anyways, we should probably focus on AA here shortly. They end on the 13th, so we'll focus on the MLB, obviously. But once we get to the 13th or the end of the 13th, we'll take a look at our AA player stats to see what they did this season. So we've made our call-ups. So now if we go to our lineups here, we have, some extra depth in terms of batting. We have a lot of batters on our team. There is a chance I could always send down a different random player that is kind of struggling, but like I might send down Walter Choi. He is batting at 264 though. We'll see what Tom Cho could do, but there might be some different send downs for the postseason. All right, so let's go through this week of action. We have 2 more games against Pittsburgh, 2 against the Dodgers, or actually 3 technically, but let's see what I do in these first 4 games. 6-1 win. Let's go auto on that. Hey, nice. 4 more straight wins. This team is completely cooking. We're an 89-53. Let's go through this game against the Dodgers here as well. And we lost that one, of course. But 89-54. We're 5.5 games up on the Rangers. The Astros are 9.5 games back of us, but they're likely a wild card team. I'm kind of a bit weary still on the Astros because the fact that they've fallen off into a wild card spot, I feel like they could easily find a way to start winning in the playoffs. We know that they're a good team after all, but I am a little bit scared about that. And then, yeah, we got some games against Texas here, so this is going to be a nice little, maybe a playoff preview. Us versus Texas, that would be interesting. But obviously, Texas has been a very good team in the second half of the season, so I'm a little bit scared about them as well. But let's go through this 3-game series. We are on home field for these ones. Can we win this series against a good team like Texas? No, we lose 2 of the 3. 90 and 56. Hopefully that's not a sign of things to come if we play them in the postseason. But we are still on a 61.6 win percentage, which is insane. The next closest is them with the 585, so 58.5 basically. All right. We got 2 here against Seattle. Well, technically 3, and then we'll take a look at AA's player stats to wrap up their season. We lose 2 more games, so we're on a little bit of a downfall here, losing 4 of our last 5, or technically 5 of our last 6 games. That could hurt us definitely a little bit in terms of hitting 100 wins on the season, but that's okay. The Rangers are 87 and 62, so the Rangers might end up trying to steal the division from us, which is kind of scary because I don't know if I want to play the Astros in a wild card matchup. Astros are 82 and 67, so they've had a really good year. Yeah, I'm a little bit scared about that. Let's go through this last game and we'll take a look at some AA stats. Another loss. Oof. Yeah, we're on a little bit of a downwards trajectory here as of late, but that's all right. That's all right. Let's take a look at AA stats because their season is officially over. So starting off with Tom Chen. Pretty solid year, I would say. Not too bad in the ERA department. Not too bad in the whip department. A little bit of a losing record, but that's all right. Not too bad for him. Ichiro Ishii, this was his first season, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. He was okay as well. His ERA a little bit high. Whip maybe a tiny bit high, but a winning record, I'd say it was okay. He's up to a 69 already, which is good, though. So he might develop into being something. Charles Chan, solid season. Solid ERA. Whip maybe a bit high, but his win-loss ratio was 500, so that's good. And then Yamamoto and Cho, these guys are relief pitchers, so I don't expect super good stats. But Richard Cho seemed like he had actually a good time as a starting pitcher. Meanwhile, Akio, not so much. In the bullpen, William Fong was really good. Really good, so that's good to see. Vincent Wong was also good. Michael Yamamoto kind of had a tough time. He was probably one of the worst guys in that bullpen, unfortunately. Hiroyuki Yamada was fantastic. It does kind of suck that he's developing now at 27. He's probably not going to make the majors, but definitely took his sweet-ass time a little bit. Wong Yang Chang was pretty good, and Alan Chan was also really good. So I would say in general, our starting pitchers were kind of okay, but our bullpen was fantastic aside from Michael Yamamoto. So not too bad from the pitching department in AA. In terms of their batting, Chang Ho-Chu batted at 249. That's not too bad. 717 OPS. I'd say that's okay. That's an okay year for him. 13 home runs, 58 RBIs. All right. Robert Iwamura, 260. I like a 260. That's not too bad. 765 OPS, the 10 home runs. Solid year from Robert, I would say. Definitely a guy that might be high up in our system because obviously we need third baseman down the road. Brian Hugh, this was his first season, I think. Maybe it wasn't his first season because he's already 23, but above a 250 average is nice. 17 home runs and 76 RBIs, so he was a nice little cleanup guy. Solid OPS as well. All right. Stanley Suzuki at 274. He was really good this season, but he is one of the deep potential players, so his OPS was below 700, but he had good RBIs, good average, so that's interesting. Jason Yamashita at 241, a little bit underperformed for Yamashita, I would say, but still not a terrible OPS. Connor Fong at 236. That's not very good. Yeah, he was definitely one of the worst players on the team so far. William B. Bayek was really good at 294. He has deep potential, though, so I don't think he's going to really outgrow that too much, but very good season from him. Good OPS as well. Sal Chen at 271. Sal Chen was good. Sal Chen was good. So a couple of guys in the bottom of the order actually did well, too. So you'd love to see that. And then David Koo at 284. Yeah, there were some pretty solid players in that bottom of the order. His OPS was a bit low, but I mean, that batting average is nice. It's probably because he only had 2 home runs and didn't pick up a lot of RBIs. Like, he might have got on base a lot, but he didn't really do anything in terms of scoring runs. And then bench guys, Jeffrey Saito had a 315. That's actually pretty solid for 181 at-bats, so shout out to Saito. Yamaguchi had a 302. That's also pretty good, so some good bench batting. Zoo doesn't matter. Hoffman doesn't matter. And Peter Nakamura had a 186 or 236 at-bats. That was his first season, though, so I don't think he would be getting downgraded yet, but obviously if he does that for a second straight season, that's not very good. So there is AA. They finished 35 and 34. Now we will obviously go back to the majors. When does AAA end? At the end of the next week. Okay, so the 20th. So obviously we'll take a look at some AAA stats as well. We got 3 games against the Diamondbacks, who are a very good team right now. And then we have 4 against Seattle. The rest of our season is looking kind of tough. I don't know if we're going to hit 100 wins, but I hope that we kind of do, just because then we could say we took this team from 0 to 100. So let's go through this 3 games against the Diamondbacks. We lose 2 and win 1. Ooh, we're on a really bad stretch. And that might be a good thing, because maybe if we go bad into the playoffs, we're going to have all of a sudden a very good playoffs. I honestly don't know the logic in this game that well. But obviously this could be a good thing. It might not be. Their Rangers are only 2.5 games back of us now. I'm a little bit weary about that, though, because if we make it to the wild card game instead against the Astros, I feel not really safe, because the Astros were so good early on, but they have definitely fallen off. We're 2-8 in our last 10 games, so we're definitely kind of following the same suit as them. Like, who knows, maybe Texas is the favorite in the AL West out of all these teams. But I thought with our September call-ups we'd be a lot better, but apparently not. So we will keep it going right now. We got 3 games against Seattle. Let's see what we could do against them. And we do win 2 of 3, so that's good. We're kind of winning some games now, 93 and 62. And we got to simulate through one more day so we could take a look at some AAA stats here. And we win that game as well. So AAA actually will be making it to the playoffs, which is nice. As they finished, what did they finish like? 86 and 64. They were 11 games up on the next closest team. So the Aviators had a really good year this season, which is awesome. I do want to take a look at their stats now. So David Knott was pretty good. Obviously, he doesn't matter about getting booster or whatnot, but he could come up to the majors maybe for the MLB playoffs if he's eligible. But at the same time, I don't really know if I need him too much. David Lim was pretty good. Richie Chen was also pretty solid. Stuart Chow was really good. So we got good pitching across our pitchers in general. Philip Arab was a reliever, so I could see why he struggled so much. But these 4 guys actually did pretty good. Bullpen, Walter Cho was good. Pete Kuo was also good. Douglas Takahashi is a starting pitcher, so I don't know why he's there. We got to definitely swap him and Irabu around, because I do not want Douglas Takahashi being used as a reliever. But Takahashi was good too. Tom Mann was good. Austin Choi, good. Charles Nakamura, probably the worst of the bunch so far. And Walter Lee was good. So in general, the pitching was great in AAA, and that's maybe why they made the playoffs. Not too sure on the batting. In terms of the batting, Jung-Woo Ahn had a 292 average. That's pretty good from Jung-Woo. He had 325 at-bats. Yeah, pretty solid numbers from Jung-Woo. Raymond Park, obviously he's a lot older at this stage. He is declining. He had an okay season, good home runs and RBIs, but the average is a little bit low. Russell Yang, same type of boat. He's been a career kind of AAA guy anyways. So there you go. Koji Yamazaki at 279. That's really solid from Koji. He is 26 years old already, though, so he is kind of developing a little bit slowly. Russell Lim, really good season from Russell, I'd say. The 280 average is nice to see. This team might end up having a chance to win AAA. Jeff Ishii at 248, kind of not great stats. Obviously, he's a catcher that's playing shortstop right now, though, so it kind of makes sense. Dusty Kim, a 240 average, not the best, but 23 home runs and 85 RBIs is pretty good. So Dusty Kim might be making a push for the majors here soon. The OPS is good too. I'm impressed with those stats from Dusty Kim. Definitely turning out to be a solid power hitter against righties especially, and lefties somewhat too. Yeah, nice. Tadahito Taguchi at 258. It's okay. Brian Shin doesn't matter too much, but at 263. Okay. And then Philip Nishi off the bench at 209. All right, so Las Vegas Aviators. Who knows how good they'll do in the playoffs, but shout out to them for making it to the postseason. We are currently 94 and 62 in the MLB now. and we're still 3 games up on the Rangers, so we have not clinched yet this division, but we are probably going to be guaranteed a playoff spot, I would assume. Yeah, we have guaranteed a playoff spot. Rangers have also guaranteed one, and guaranteeing themselves a wild card matchup is the Houston Astros, so I am a bit scared about Houston, obviously what they did to us last year. Texas, like I said, they've came kind of out of nowhere so far, so I'm a little bit scared about that. They have been scoring a lot of runs right now as well, 777, so they might be a very good offensive team based on those numbers. All right, so let's get through these last few games of the season. We got 3 against Houston, so this is pretty big because we could be facing them in a wild card scenario if we fall off or not. And we got 3 against Kansas City. We can hit 100 wins if we win every single one of these last games, so I don't know if we will, but this has still been a very good season for this team, even though we did have a little bit of a rough stretch as of late. So 3 games against Houston. Can we win this series? We win the first one, and I jinxed the AAA team. They have been eliminated by the Chihuahuas, of course. So they lose early on, despite having a fantastic season. So that's unfortunate, but our AAA team is out of the playoffs already. We lose the second game against Houston, and we win the third. All right, so we do actually win that series. We aren't going to hit 100 wins, but we could still tie our best season in franchise history. We got 3 games against Kansas City, who's just below 500 at the moment. So the question is, can we take all 3 of these games and tie our best season in franchise history? Let's see what happens. We win 1, we lose 1, I think, so we aren't going to tie it. It doesn't seem like. And we lose the last one as well. So we finished 97-65, so just below 60 win percentage, but we've won our division. And we will be taking on the winner of the wild card game. So that is interesting. 97-65. So once again, we have the top seed, and we are going to be either playing Texas or Houston in the ALDS. And I don't really know who I'd prefer. I know Houston was fantastic during the season, and they fell off, so I think they could be a favorite. Texas jumped up out of nowhere and started winning a lot of games. So both those 2 teams, I don't know who I would prefer out of the bunch, but obviously we'll take a look at both their rosters. But I would assume Houston's similar to last year. But first and foremost, we got some awards, and we'll take a look at stats around the league and our player stats here. But first and foremost, Parker Iwamura. His ERA got worse as the season went on, but a 19-7 record. He had a really good year. Might have won another Cy Young. We'll definitely take a look at that and see if he did. Maybe he didn't. Stan Nguyen had a really solid year. Good ERA, good whip, and obviously a winning record too. So our number 1 and number 2 guy doing really well. Kazuhito Hayashi, obviously not as good of a year this year as he has had in the past, but the ERA, the whip is so solid. He had a winning record, but when you go from going 22-2 to 11-10, it's not as good, but still it's a good year from him. Vincent Tan was actually pretty solid. Hey, Vincent Tan, 17-10 is a really good record. And then his ERA was below 4, so he improved in the second half of the season for sure. How much complete games did he have? Because I know he's a guy that could go long into games, if I'm not mistaken. 4 complete games. Yeah, he's had 4 complete games the last 3 seasons. So he's definitely a guy that could go very long into games if needed. And then Ken Irabu was okay. He had a winning record. Not the best ERA and whip, but not a bad season. Definitely a lot better than last year, where he was below 500 and had a worse ERA, worse whip, and his FIP was also worse too. So shout out to Kenny Rabu, who was not that bad. Who knows if we'll turn to him in the playoffs at any point or not. Then in terms of our bullpen, Walter Jung actually picked up a good ERA. Hey, Walter actually dropped below 4 in terms of ERA as a reliever. That's not bad. He had an 8-8 record, which is good. His ERA was actually okay. His whip was pretty solid. And his FIP was fantastic. So maybe this was the best year of Walter Jung we've seen so far in his career. He's only signed for a few more years and he's making less money each year, which is good. But that's interesting. That might be his best season, in my opinion. Leonard Sato was fantastic. Really good numbers. Good ERA, good whip. More strikeouts than innings pitched. Winning record. Nice. Vincent Chang actually picked up his play as well during the second half of the season. So it looks like our bullpen might have improved a bit since we last looked. Yeah, good ERA. Whip maybe a bit high, but a winning record as well out of the bullpen. I'll take it. Eric Yamamoto, losing record, but good ERA, good whip. More strikeouts than innings pitched. Philip Chung, also pretty good stats. There is a chance that he could be a free agent this offseason, though, which kind of sucks. But in general, so far, very impressed with the relief pitchers. Eric Yamashita, that's kind of an interesting one. High ERA, below 1 whip, though. More strikeouts than innings pitched. I'll definitely take a look at the FIP throughout our entire lineup, I guess, at some point here, too. But his FIP was a 2.19, so based on his FIP, I think Eric Yamashita had a good year, but based on the ERA, it's a little bit high up. And then Tommy Wong was not too bad. Solid ERA, solid whip, less strikeouts than innings pitched, but not too bad. It's kind of similar to what he did last year. A little bit better in the whip department, worse ERA, worse FIP. His FIP was actually not that great, but that's okay. And then, of course, our closer, Tom Koo. Pretty good season from him. His numbers definitely weren't as good in the second half of the season as they were earlier on, but good ERA, good whip, and let's see, blown saves. 7 blown saves, but 48 saves. So he kind of fell off a little bit in the second half, I think, of the season. There is a chance that he could win reliever of the year still, which is nice. So that's our pitching. What about our batting? Because this is an interesting one always to look at. Peter Yamazaki has hit 33 home runs and 105 RBIs. Outrageous. Career high in home runs, career high in RBIs, a 292 average and 907 OPS. There's a chance that Yamazaki's got some awards this season. Really good stats from him. Yokoyama, 12 home runs, 65 RBIs. Kind of a little bit low compared to some guys, obviously, but a 278 average is very nice still, too. For his age. Not as good as last year, but still I would definitely say he's an effective player. And he's still making 9.9 for the next few years. So shout out to Yokoyama. Tom Lee, yeah, not as good in the batting average department as last year, for sure. His home runs and RBIs were kind of similar. But yeah, I'd say he was still an effective player, but that average definitely did plummet quite a bit compared to last season. Charles Nomo, he's probably going to be like a 40 home run guy, my guess. Yep, 41 home runs for Charles Nomo. He might have led the league in home runs. RBIs 117. That's the best season offensively of any Tokyo Tropic Turtle, I'm pretty sure. What a year from Nomo. Also batted at 298. Like, his batting average exploded this season compared to prior seasons. And in his home run count, he beats that out by 8 home runs. His RBI counts, he beats that out by 10 at the career high. 924 OPS. He's definitely won some awards this season, I think, at that point. So shout out to Nomo for arriving in batting average and all his other stats. That's probably going to be his best season ever. I don't think he's going to top that, but there's probably some awards for him for sure this year. Theodore Lee also kind of dropped off batting average, and like Tom Lee did kind of a bit. Yeah, 270 down to a 238. But the home runs stayed the same. RBIs were similar. So even though he didn't have the best year, I would say it's still an okay year for Theodore Lee, but definitely some regression there a bit. David Sasaki, 29 home runs is fantastic actually from him. 77 RBIs, a 244 average. So once again, his average has never been super good in his career, but he's picking up home runs, which is really useful, obviously, for some depth scoring. Good OPS. Not a bad year from David Sasaki, I would say. Obviously, the average could be better, but we know that he's not going to bring the average. We know that he's going to be that kind of guy that just brings in runs if he can. Vincent Seo at 262, 22 home runs for him, 78 RBIs. That's a solid season from Vincent. Not as good as last year, but pretty similar average department-wise. And OPS is a little bit lower, but still a good year from him. He is a pending free agent, so hopefully he doesn't demand too much in the offseason, or else he might be leaving the team, so hopefully not. We also have Stanley Oka at 238. He definitely hasn't been super good this year. Definitely a big drop-off as well from a 288 to a 238. However, did have a career high in home runs and RBIs this year. So there was some positive to his play, but definitely not as much as last season. Hopefully he's better in the playoffs. And then Mark Taguchi, a 314 through 86 at-bats. That's pretty good. 4 home runs, 13 RBIs. Yeah, not too bad from Taguchi. Not too bad. Really good OPS still. Yeah, so Mark Taguchi is definitely useful. So there's that. Then we have our bench bats. Walter Choi at 262. That's not too bad. 6 home runs off the bench as well. William Chung had a 263. 4 home runs, 24 RBIs. So some of these guys relatively similar. William A. Bayek, who got called up, had a 667 through 6 at-bats, so he had 4 hits and 2 runs through 6 at-bats. I guess he's going to stay up here. And then Richard Chen was not bad, to be honest, for his overall. He's only a 72, but he did actually have an okay average. Not the best RBIs and stuff like that, OPS and all that too, but he was okay in terms of average at least. Who did it send down? It must have sent down the outfielder I called up. Because I'm curious on what his stats look like, if he actually was decent or not. So we'll definitely go take a look at his stats here, if I can. Right fielders, Tom Cho. Let's see, did you play any games? Yes, you did. You batted 286. That's actually really good. He actually might be a useful player at the major league level based on that short little span he played. Yeah, I like that stats from Tom Cho. That's nice. That is nice. Who was the other guy that we called up again? I'm trying to remember. It was William A. Bayek, so somebody might have got sent down. They didn't want to send down. Oh, Michael Wong was the other guy. Michael Wong, how was he doing? 255. Yeah, he wasn't actually super good. His OPS was good. But I'll keep A. Bayek up here for now. But Michael Wong could come back up for the playoffs if necessary. So, there is our player stats for the MLB. Now comes some fun stats. Let's take a look at our standings here. Team stats, league leaders, and awards for this season. So starting off with the standings, we were a 59.9 win percentage team with 97 wins. We only finished 1 win above the Rangers, so we were very close to facing the Astros in that wildcard game, but we just barely edged them out. So I don't really know who I would prefer to face out of those two teams. The Astros gave up a lot more runs. The Rangers have a dominant offense, though. What we wanted to take a look at, though, was is there any team that was better than us in terms of wins this season? No, there wasn't. I think we were the best team again in the regular season in terms of the standings. Interesting. Team rankings, this is what I wanted to take a look at here. So, in terms of batting average, we were the 8th best offensive team. We were lower in batting average than Houston and Texas, so that's a bit scary, considering we're going to have to face one of them. Runs, Texas was number 1. We were number 5. Houston was number 4. Oof. Yeah, it's going to be a very tough playoff matchup regardless of who we face, I would say. Hits, Texas is up there. Yeah, Texas is just great offensively. Houston had a lot of doubles this season and triples, so they got some speed to their game. Home runs, we were 7th. Texas was just above us by 3 home runs. All right. RBIs, we were 5th. Houston was 3rd. Texas was 1. God damn, yeah, this is going to be insane, this playoff matchup, I feel like, regardless. In terms of pitching, no, we were the best. Where is Texas and Houston? Texas is 11th. Houston is 20th. So, basically, whoever we face, we have to rely heavily on our pitchers like we've done in the past, and our pitchers haven't been good in the past. So, it's going to be a good pitching team like us with some solid offense versus a team that's very good offensively but doesn't have the pitching support. We are number 1 in complete games. Number 1 in shutouts, are tied for first, basically. 3rd in saves. All right. We allowed the least amount of hits as well. Allowed the least amount of runs, earned runs. Yeah. Interesting season. Texas finished number 2. Houston finished number 7 in the entire league. I still feel like Houston's a little bit of an underdog going into this playoffs. In terms of league leaders, let's take a look at the league leaders first before we take a look at award winners. So, in terms of league leaders, let me remove my face so you guys can see most of this. So, Parker Ivemar led the league in win percentage. He also led the league in wins. And Stan Nguyen led in whip. We also had Charles Nomo lead in home runs with 41. And Yamazaki led on base on balls, so he drew a lot of walks. 102 of them this season. Nice. So those are the things that we let in. I'll just scroll through this, but if you guys see any stats you want to bring up in the next episode, let me know. But let's go through this. Nomo had 5 more home runs than Tom Wheeler. Jeez. What a year from Nomo. I hope he has a good playoffs ahead of him as well, because that would go a long way with this team. Yamazaki and runs and stuff. Wow, Yamazaki drew almost 20 more walks than the next closest guy, and that next closest guy was former Tropic Turtle Kevin Sato, who had a pretty good year. Better average than last year with us, but less home runs and more RBIs. But still a good year from Kevin Sato. on a different team. That's still weird to see. Yeah, Sato was also up there on base percentage. Imagine if we would have been able to hold on to him too. This team would have been even better probably. Which is kind of insane. Cortez led an OPS. There's Parker. I wonder what awards we have. We probably should have the Cy Young, I feel like. And then definitely like a batting related one. But I'm not too sure. Alright. So there's the league leaders. Now we can see these awards. Who won awards for us this season? Parker Iwamura has won his second Cy Young trophy. Let's go. So that's his second in the last few years. And it looks like we also do have an MVP based on, you guys can see kind of blurred out in the background. It looks like there's a tropic turtle there as well. So Nomo might be the MVP. And yes, he is. So back-to-back years, the tropic turtles have had an MVP. Last year was Kazuhito Hayashi. This year it's Charles Nomo. So shout out to Charles Nomo winning his first MVP award. He's starting to build up quite the repertoire. Also, I didn't realize, I guess he did win the home run champion this year at the All-Star game. Because I think I looked after the All-Star game and it wasn't there, but he must have been the champion, I guess, based on that. So, putting together quite the repertoire. He's got the MVP, the Rookie of the Year, the 3 All-Star appearances, a Silver Slugger this season. He's got an All-Star MVP award from his rookie year and the home run champion this season. Charles is the GOAT. And then, yeah, there's the Cy Young. 3 straight years a Tropic Turtle has won the Cy Young. And obviously we need those guys to get it done in the playoffs as well. But Parker just edged out a Houston pitcher and also a Texas pitcher. So our AL division is quite insane, nonetheless. But 3 straight years, though, with a Cy Young winner is fantastic. 2 of them now in Parker's name. Parker is putting together maybe a Hall of Fame career based on that. What else we got here? So, unfortunately, what was it? The reliever of the year, yeah. Tom Koo fell off a cliff afterwards. He was up there as number 1 potentially for this award, but his second half of the season wasn't very good, especially during that stretch probably where he lost a lot of games, but he does not win it this year. That's all right. And then obviously we had some other... Yamazaki didn't win a single award this year other than maybe... Nah, he didn't even win a Gold Glove. Did he win a Silver Slugger this year? Because if he didn't even get a Silver Slugger, that's kind of weird. So Nomo got one as DH. Yamazaki does get one as a catcher, okay. So yeah, Yamazaki doesn't have a ton of awards. He has Silver Sluggers and Gold Gloves and only 1 All-Star appearance, but he's been pretty good in the series, I would say. So there is all the awards for the regular season. Now the question is, do I want to take a look at yet who we're facing? I think we do. Just got to make sure. Let me actually take a look at our player stats here on our roster for a second. I know we literally just looked at this, but I do want to take a look at the WAR, who was technically the worst player on our team. So we only have 1 guy negative in WAR, and that was Richard Chen. So Richard Chen was a negative 0.9, so he's definitely the weak link on this team. Abayek was positive, everybody else was positive, so I'd say that's good from our offensive standpoint. And then from our pitching standpoint, I wanted to take a look at the FIP. See who had a bad FIP and who didn't. So the best FIP on our team was Eric Yamashita based on this screen. The guys that were above 4, these guys weren't terrible, but they were probably the worst players on the team. Kenny Rabu, Tommy Wong, and Vincent Tan. Those guys had the highest up FIP out of everybody on our pitching rotation and all that. But everybody else was below 4. Like, these guys aren't in terrible territory because obviously 5 is really, really bad. But 4 is still kind of iffy. But I would say definitely I was still impressed with the pitching this season. All right, so I guess we'll take a look and see who we face in this next matchup in the ALDS. It's either going to be Houston or Texas. I don't really know who I'd prefer to face. I could look at both their rosters right now, but I would prefer to probably just simulate and find out because both those 2 teams are going to be a threat regardless. So let's simulate through these 3 days and these 3 days as well. And it's going to be a rematch with Houston. Texas has been eliminated. As I kind of expected, Houston might be the underdog here that goes far. But hopefully they can't knock us out here. Hopefully Texas took a lot out of them. They went 3 games. I got to take a look at Houston again here and what their roster looks like this season. I'm pretty sure it's going to be similar to last year. But man, does it suck to face Houston again. So, their pitching rotation, Eddie Cardona, I'm pretty sure he was there last year, was up there for a potential Cy Young. He was good in the wild card matchup that they played. Felipe Pinheiro, not the best, but still solid. Kyle Harrison was good. Archie Battle, I remember him. And Cade Horton. Bullpen, Paul Rowley, Hunter Green, Larry Coates. Some of these guys might be new, but I can't remember for sure. But, they definitely have some solid pitchers. Like, they're not a terrible pitching team by any stretch, but we need basically our pitching to play good against them. We should be able to beat them hypothetically, but I said that last year as well, so I'm not going to count them out at all. Especially considering they just knocked out a good Houston team, or not Houston team, Texas team that was very good in that second half of the season. Here is their batting, Richard Sandoval. Is he new? He is new, okay. He was actually, no, never mind. He was with them last season, potentially. I can't tell for sure, but he might have been with them last year. Jordan Lawler. Was Lawler there? Yeah, Lawler's always been there. Steve Cortez, we know he's always been there. Frank Deutschman definitely was there last year. Brady Ray, I feel like he wasn't. No, he was, okay. Orelvis Martinez, I think, was definitely there as well. Yes, he was. George Valera, maybe? Yep. Luca Evans, I don't think so. No, he was, but he hasn't played a full season yet. He's been pretty bad for them. And Charles Nielsen. He might have been acquired last season as well. I don't feel like he was there the last year, though, in the playoffs for them. I would say they definitely don't have as good of a batting order as last season, but still, you don't really need flashy overalls to win games. And in terms of the bench, Russell Rocker, I remember him. Dexter Hoover, Jose Cortez. Was he there last year? Maybe. Maybe he was in AAA, though. And Kevin Alcantara. I feel like Alcantara was, yeah, as well. So a lot of similar players to last year. I really don't know who would be the better team in this sense. Like, I wish there was a way to take a look at who would probably be better of the bunch. But as we saw during the regular season, they were 10 less wins than us. But they had a really good start to the year, and then they fell off. So it makes me feel like they're going to be a good team in the playoffs, but hopefully not. Whoever wins this series will end up facing the Yankees or Cleveland in the ALCS. And then in terms of the NL, you got Arizona and Cincinnati. And it looks like it's going to be Colorado versus either the Dodgers or Washington. So I guess we'll find out who that is first. It's going to be the Dodgers, okay? So there's your final 8 teams going into the playoffs this season. All right. Well, anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Tokyo Tropic Turtles Draft Glory franchise mode. So in next episode, we will take it to the ALDS against the Houston Astros as we look to get revenge on them from last year. Obviously, last year we had a 2-0 series lead, then fell off a cliff. So I'm hoping that this time around this team's learned from something. Having guys like Nomo have a very good regular season, I'm hoping that transpires into the playoffs so we have a deeper run this year. Because obviously, if we do not win this season, there's a good chance that we might lose a lot of good players on our roster and this team might start to decline more and more as years go on. Let me see that below, and I'll see you guys next time.